Kelly, you have your old email address. That's dumb. That one still gets forwarded, right? Your old email? Yeah. Like, I don't know why it's doing this, but okay, whatever. I don't know why. Good, how are you? Sherry? It's your email. I don't know why it's not pulling up. My email? Here we go.
Christy Hardigard, Aristihard.
Okay.
Well, that's my first, I guess I should probably give you my other.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
got like 4 emails. I am Christy.Hard.
Tim, could you put your email in the chat for me, please? This is Margaret. Or email.
So that's okay. This, like, who is kind of hard to be in this Keller Williams especially, and never have run across at least somebody talking about behavioral style, right? So I have been with Keller, let's see, I've been licensed 25 years. The joke is I got licensed when I was 16. That's right. That's really? And I've been with Keller since 2007. And I will literally say that this company, and especially being involved in the coaching world, I got involved in productivity coaching world fairly early in my career with Keller Williams. And so we have been blessed to be mentored by people like Mo Anderson, like Diana Kokoski, if you've heard that name, the best of the best of the best in the business, not the business, they're the best humans on the planet, really. We were just blessed that they were with this company. And so this company has literally changed who I am as a person and how I interact with people. And I believe that translates to success, not only in your business life, also in your personal life. And I believe that understanding behavior, literally, you guys, I believe it can change your life and change your relationships. So we're not going to just talk about business, although that's a big part of it. However, we're human beings and we're dealing with other human beings. So if we learn how to relate to people on that human level, I believe it will manifest massive success in your life. And who thinks we need this even more right now in this day and age than ever before? And if you get frustrated with the things that you see and how people behave, this is going to help you. And what's funny is I got certified. I have been fascinated by DISC. I have been so lucky to, I know Dr. Abelson personally. He used to come to a lot of the Keller Williams events, and I let's be straight up, he had a crush on AJ. You remember AJ Stifler? Did you ever know AJ? No, one of our Keller Williams agents was one of my best friends. He had a crush on her, so he used to hang around a lot. So I got to know the man. And then during COVID, probably the best thing that happened for me out of COVID was he did this online certification that was like a third of the price of what it normally would be because it was COVID and it was all on Zoom. And he did 2 different certifications. He did one for people in the real estate industry and another one for, you know, just people in the corporate world. Well, the day that he was doing the real estate industry one, the day of the week that that class was on, I wasn't available. And so I was on the other one. You guys, there were 5 of us in the class. It was like I had one-on-one coaching and training and certification with him. So it has even increased my passion so much that, you know, getting certified in it was really huge for me. So this is kind of like a cartoon figure of the different kinds of behavioral styles. We're going to jump into each one. Now, a couple things that I want to make sure that y'all understand is that this is not a personality, and people often say personality, and that's okay. However, your behavior and your personality, believe it or not, are not necessarily the same thing. your behavioral style usually does come out in your personality, and yet it's not the same. This assessment also does not deal with things like values or intelligence or things like that. Values can be tricky because certain values are common for certain behavioral styles, so they can kind of go in, kind of intermingle. So tell me, what is the golden rule? The actual golden rule.
Do unto others as you would have done to you.
Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Have you heard about the platinum rule? Do unto others as they would have done unto them. And so if you've ever heard yourself say these words, well, if it were me, I would ... That's danger. It's like danger, danger, because you are not, they are not you and you are not them. So expectations are huge. In my opinion, managing expectations is the secret of happiness. It really does drill down to that. Get rid of your expectations and you will live a happier life. So those are my 2 cents. Okay, so when, I know a lot of you didn't, and I apologize, I thought I had sent that clear, but gosh, we've had this on the calendar for
Since January.
a minute. So I thought I sent this link clear back then, so I do apologize for that. However, it might be kind of fun, if you haven't had a chance to take the assessment yet, go ahead and take your notes, sit in the class. You'll get a feel for what you think you are, and then it'll be fun to get the assessment on the other side, and then you'll be able to be like, okay, I get it. And we're gonna do a little breakout at the very end, and so by then you should have a pretty good idea of where you think you fit. So when you get your assessment, you're gonna actually see 2 different graphs. They're gonna be color-coded like this, and the thing that you wanna remember is one says adapted and one says natural. Now, the natural graph is who you are when you're just being yourself. You're not being watched, you're not in a role or a job, it's just who you are. Adapted is who you are being forced to be, either at work or in a situation that you are. Have any of you ever had to be in a situation where you feel like you're not in your strengths, you're not in a place that you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
It drains your battery, is what it does. So we can all, when we get more into it, we'll talk a lot more about it. Yeah, we can all step into any of the behavioral styles, right? Because we all have a little bit in us. When we talk about this, we're very much talking about more of an extreme. We're human beings, so everybody is a combination. So when I say high D, high I, high S, whatever that is, we're talking about what your predominant behavioral style is. Please understand, everybody is different, and we can all step into our different roles depending on the situation or different behavioral styles. So I have found that in our business, entrepreneurs, self-employed, we typically, our adapted graph and our natural graph typically is the same. They're not usually very different because we are working in our behavioral style in our business. We're not forced to be working in another business or another. I'll explain more of that when I get to some of the different behavioral styles. When your natural graph and your adaptive graph is extremely different, we can definitely have a conversation around that, because it could be that you behave one way maybe at home and another way maybe when you're on the job. So I see this sometimes with men, is their dominant D, so that would be like the go-get-it person, the dominant person, might be high on adapted, but come way down naturally. And maybe at home, when they're out they're the shark out in the, getting the deals done and that kind of stuff when it's work time. And when they go home, they're husband and dad. So sometimes I'll see behaviors flip in a situation like that. So we can talk about that one-on-one if you find that yours is super different. Okay, so the behavioral styles are DISC. If you've ever done it, like a lot of churches, they'll use the sanguine caloric, have you ever heard of those? There's a marine one that is like shark, dolphin, those kinds of things, and then I've seen like golden retriever. Anybody heard any of those? There's all kinds of variances of it. And yet the one we're gonna talk about is the DISC, because I find that the adjectives that describe the behavioral style start with the D. So we're gonna talk about the high Ds first. Who has actually been able to get the DISC done? Anybody in here? No, any high Ds that we know of yet?
No.
By the way, when I say high D, on that graph, anything above that 50% line is considered dominant. So you are, what is your name?
Arden.
Arden? Yeah, so yours is above that 50?
Mhm.
Okay, how about you? Is it way?
Way out.
Way. Okay, so again, remember, we're talking extremes here. And so the adjectives that you will see that describe a high D, we'll call it, are, what are they? They want it now. They're demanding, dominant, decisive, direct, determined, they're doers, defiant, risk takers, self-starters, competitive, strong-willed. They can be pioneers and they're typically ambitious, which is why a lot of high Ds are drawn to sales. Makes sense, right? Because they're very much self-starters, go-getters. They like to make things happen. All right, now, when we talk about, take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, one of the most important things I think to understand about behavioral styles is what the majority of the general population are in comparison to the behavioral styles. So a high D, their kind of attitude is I want it done and I want it now. This is how they roll. It's only about 8% of the general population are high Ds. Yet I just mentioned they're drawn to sales entrepreneur type jobs. So in this environment of real estate, it could be closer to 60 to 70% of our population are high Ds. So we have to remember that even though we may be surrounded by this, the general population, i.e. your clients, probably a very much smaller percentage are going to be actual high Ds. Their key question is, what's in it for me? They're very much independent learners and they like the big picture. They're visionaries. They can see where they want to go. It's that ambition piece. Okay, so every behavioral style has a dominant emotion and a dominant fear. Now, again, I'm talking in extremes. Hopefully, if you have any kind of, we talk a lot about emotional intelligence these days. And if you have any kind of emotional intelligence and you could have a propensity, or maybe in the past when you were younger, you had a propensity to show these high emotions, maybe you've had a chance to learn how to deal with them better. So a high D's dominant emotion is actually anger. So not looking at anybody in the room, but does anybody know anybody that can flash to anger super fast? And then they're fine. Road rage, right? You can be like, you'll flash to that anger and then 30 seconds later, you're moving on like it never happened. Now, anybody in the car with you that saw that flash of anger is probably, anger is probably still shaking in their boots. And if that's a kid or a significant other at home, this is something that you want to be aware of. So that is their dominant emotion is anger. Their dominant fear is being taken advantage of. And kind of the side thing to that is having their time wasted. There is nothing worse to a high D behavioral style than wasting their time. Nothing. Am I speaking to you? Yeah. Drives them nutso. Okay, now I need you guys to understand something. And I'm not gonna get political. However, I have had this slide for years.
Or he was.
Yes.
Yeah,
Long before
yeah.
he was our president. And I never changed it because it is hilarious to me. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what my opinion is about why this man can spark so much controversy in our world. So once again, here's our adjectives: dominant, determined, demanding, driving, doers. They're challenges. Every behavioral style. So has anybody ever done bold?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know how they talk about, oh, I wish I was a high D, or oh, I wish I was that, or we always wish we were something we weren't. And everybody wants to be a high D in this business because they think that those are the drivers and those are the successful ones and those are, they can also be another word that starts with a D. I'm just saying. And so, you know, it's that emotional intelligence and learning how to adjust your behavior. So some huge challenges, they can be insensitive because they're just like, tell it like it is. Don't waste my time with, I can hurt your feelings, yet they can hurt your feelings. They come off as having a lack of concern for others. I'm not saying they do, I'm just saying they can come off that way. They can be incredibly impatient and blunt, and don't those two things go together? Aren't we typically blunt before impatient? Don't have the time to coddle the situation, yeah.
No sugarcoating.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The values, however, that they bring to the table or to bring to the organization is their bottom line organizer. Get to the facts, get to the bottom line. They place a high value on time. I might have mentioned that already. They're incredible problem solvers. Like, it's a challenge to them. Give me a problem, bring it. Which isn't that what real estate transactions are? We're just managers of problems as they come. They're high risk takers. That can be a good thing and a bad thing, yeah? Because in this business, we have to be, if you're gonna be self-employed, you probably need to have a decent risk tolerance. And they do. They're definitely self-starters. Nobody needs to get them out of bed and get them going in the day. They hit the ground that way. They're innovative. They challenge the status quo. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The answer is yes. Right? It's a good thing or a bad thing. We want people to challenge us. And yet, they can come across as, if we say or do anything, will you be okay? No, we're challenging it. They're very much natural leaders. Again, they like that direct communication and they love to win. The high Ds will make anything into a contest. Anything. It doesn't have to be a giant contest with a huge prize. It could be who gets to the stoplight first. That's just, they just love that challenge and love that competition. So if you have high Ds in your world, then motivate them. Get that competition going. Because they thrive on it. They love it. Now, another thing that every behavioral style has, and this makes me giggle more than anything when it comes to understanding behavioral styles, is how every behavioral style handles time. And I'm gonna maybe get some thoughts started in your head with these conversations. They want you to be on time. Now, who is, I've got it on the slide, Vince Lombardi says, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. not to these guys. Cause if you're 15 minutes early, they're not ready for you. Our appointment was at 1. What are you doing here at 12:45? You're wasting my time. I'm not ready for you yet. You guys get that? Really, really, really interesting. Now, are they always on time? Nope. But you better be. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying we're here to understand. Yeah, exactly. So don't disrespect them because that's one of their biggest fears. I also like to talk about, how each behavioral style is in relationships. Most high Ds don't have a ton of friends. Usually their best friend is their spouse, or they might have a close, like maybe colleague or something. Why do you think that is? I'm not saying it's absolute.
Low tolerance for people?
Yeah, they may not have tolerance for people in general. Fair, yep, what else?
Solitude with folks in the goals.
Yeah, they're so focused on go, 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 that sometimes they can have a hard, type A personalities, we've all heard that, right, forever. Those are high Ds. They usually don't have the time or the patience. Relationships take time and patience. And sometimes they're just like, can't be bothered. Now, I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying they don't care, or they are not capable of caring. Because some people kind of start to think, Ds don't have emotions or feelings, and that's just not true. They're humans. However, they have a low tolerance for a lot of BS, for sure.
Let's say something about the Ds or Ds.
Oh, okay, it'll come to me when we get to the other piece. Okay, so the next one in the flow is the Is. So DI. The Is are, anybody in here know they're an I? So you're a D and you're an I.
Well, part, SI, and then, yeah.
What's your highest?
S is a little higher.
S is higher and then I?
Mhm.
Okay, above the line. Okay, all right,
In the
so,
past, we'll see again.
yeah.
Wait again.
Oh, I'm actually glad you said that because people say, does my behavior change?
Mhm.
And sometimes you can take the assessment and you know it well enough that maybe you try to manipulate it, but don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. I found, and I've asked Abelson and a lot of people have had conversations around this. And the general consensus is your behavior doesn't change. Your behavior is pretty much locked in those, childhood years. However, it can be masked. And huge changes or trauma in your life can also shift your behavior. But most of the time, you are who you are. Now, I think if I would have done the behavior assessment long before I got into real estate, it would have been a different result as it is now. Because I believe, once again, that all of my training with this company and I'm super into like learning this kind of stuff, like self-growth and that kind of, I've been in the Tony Robbins world. And I think the more you get into that kind of environment, you're actually literally uncovering who you really are down deep in the core. So that's what I'll say about that. Okay, so some attitude for our high Is. They're the party. They're all about the party. They are inspiring, influencing, impressionable, interesting, involved. They can be illogical, they can go squirrel, shiny squirrel at times. They're enthusiastic, trusting, they can have a short attention span, and they can be flashy. And so you can actually look at somebody's clothes and get a sense of what their behavioral style is, just by how they dress. So Margaret had mentioned the stories, right? These are the storytellers, our high Is. Let me tell you what happened to me. And when they're talking to people, they're like this, waiting until it's their turn to talk. And sometimes they don't wait. And sometimes they jump in because they can't wait to tell you their experience with whatever it is that you're talking about. Okay, so they're only about 11% of the general population. However, do you think, just guessing with the adjectives we're looking at, do you think this behavioral style is also naturally drawn to entrepreneur to sales type positions? For sure. So we get a lot of high eyes in the sales real estate world, for sure. All right, their key question is, who else is doing that? So they're typically the ones that are all over social media. They wanna see what people are doing, what's making people successful. They're interactive and fun. They usually do really well in group projects. And here's what's interesting. They can be good listeners. And yet sometimes they listen waiting for the gap for when they can jump in. So it could go either way. And they're good at one-on-one learning. Okay, we talked about every behavioral style has a dominant emotion and a dominant fear. A high I's dominant emotion is optimism. And it can be to the point of extreme, like Pollyanna, kind of, everything is gonna be fine. And everything isn't always gonna be fine. And so if you're a high I, you've got to be careful of this extreme optimism that you can have a tendency towards, because it can be kind of like blinders and you might miss things that other behavioral styles might catch. Okay, their dominant fear is rejection, and this one is huge. It is huge. Any loss of social approval. FOMO, and what's FOMO? Fear of missing out is real for these people. It is like break their heart if you don't invite them to something, or if they're not part of something. It is actually crushing to a high I when you don't invite them to things. Now, let's talk about, that's what I was going to bring up with the high Ds, because I want to talk about strengths in real estate specifically. So going back to the high Ds, what do you think are their strengths when it comes to being successful in this business? Kind of already touched on it. Are my Zoom people there? Y'all there? You're all muted, every single one of you. This is an interactive class. Huh? Not necessarily.
They're gonna get it done.
They're gonna get it done.
Quick
Talk-
decisions.
Quick decisions. Talk to me about lead generation. How do you think high Ds handle lead generation?
Very directly.
Aggressive, directly. What kind of clients do you think they like? What kind of?
Engineer.
The notes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what kind of lead
Decisions.
generation do you think they like? Think about your different kinds of lead generation. There's sales, expires, seer, open houses.
Cold calling.
100% cold calling.
I like.
Give me those stages.
With snap decisions.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Hold that thought. But yeah, absolutely, that cold calling, because you're not gonna hurt their feelings, they're just gonna be
Right.
next, next, next.
Yeah.
Yep. How about the eyes? What is their strength?
Getting people together.
Networking.
Having a party, networking, like.
Relationship. Yeah, they're gonna be very sphere based, they're gonna be, more than likely have a lot of people in their database. They've never met a stranger. So they're gonna be, they can talk to people easily. Yep, people, yep, definitely, they're people persons. What do you think is a negative for a high D in lead generation?
Cold calling.
As in,
Having to cold call.
no, for Ds,
Oh,
sorry, I read that. Yeah, hold that thought for about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Say. The networking and just like being,
super social.
yeah,
Yeah, because they're not usually typically very social, so they're not typically good with the sphere part of things, right? With the database side of things. And did we mention they can come up as brusque and blunt and
yeah.
so not necessarily as warm and fuzzy. when their common list expires and those his votes, right? Okay, now you tell me,
Oh, Sherry.
Sherry, okay, tell me, what is a high eyes problem with Legion?
Yes, calling.
Yeah.
People, picking up the
The
phone.
nose,
If you tell me no, it's a rejection.
yeah.
Right? It's a knife in the heart of a high eye. And so,
No, just means, I can, another yes tomorrow.
says the high D.
You said it ID.
Exactly. Exactly.
Plan party.
So as a coach, I would, it would make me giggle that my high eye agents would have this massive database and just really love talking with people and everything, but getting them to pick up the phone and talk to people, or even get somebody to sign in at the open house, just take that next step to
Yeah.
get the next thing was super, super hard because they might get rejected, right? We're not talking about rejection like, no, I won't go on a date with you. We're just talking about, no, I'm not gonna give you your name. It's the same to a high eye. It's the same. And so that is something that a high eye is going to have to struggle and deal with when it comes to when it comes to their Legion. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, here are some examples of some high eyes from back in the past. Again, they're influencing, impressive, interactive, inspiring initiators. Now, let's talk about some challenges that a high eye, we already talked about a couple of them, is gonna bring. They could be more concerned about being popular. Gotta have a little wicked in there, than results. So being liked could be more important than the results. They can be inattentive to detail. Who's my highest? Can be inattentive to detail. Overuses gestures and facial expressions. You've heard the term extra? You can be a little extra. Those probably, if you're saying somebody's extra, you're probably talking about a high eye. I can virtually guarantee it. They tend to listen only when convenient, so that can be a challenge. And once again, they can be a little Pollyanna in their optimism and be a little unrealistic. Now, what do they bring to the table? They're very creative problem solvers. Now, again, we talked about, are we problem solvers in our business?
Yes.
This is literally what we do. And high eyes can usually be really, really creative in coming to that solution to whatever the issue is. They motivate others to achieve. Who do we have to motivate in this business? Our clients, yeah. Clean the house. Let people in to see the house. There's so many, do the paperwork, right? Do you have clients that getting them to send in, to sign the documents or to send in the information the lender needs, right? We need to be able to motivate them to do the things that they need to do. They're enthusiastic. They negotiate conflict pretty well. They're not afraid of it. And they're peacemakers. They're great encouragers, typically have a good sense of humor, and they're energizing. They typically bring a lot of energy to the table. This is my favorite behavioral style to talk about when it comes to time. Does anybody use the word ish when you're talking about time?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've got a little I in your life. Ish, everything is ish. Now, to be fair, is it ish-ish to get from Arvada to Highlands Ranch in this day and age?
Yeah.
Yeah, even if Google says this is exactly when, it's tricky when we're trying to meet clients, right? And so, maybe you're like, hey, Google says 12:30, I'll text you when I'm leaving with my exact time, or something around that line, I find works really well for most behavioral styles when it comes to time. Now, my high eyes in the room, how many times do people get annoyed with you for being late? Let me ask you differently. How many times are you stressed out because you're late? Nobody? No, yeah, okay. So, remember, what did we talk about the dominant emotion is for a high I? Remember?
Optimism,
Huh?
feeler, was that it?
Optimism, emotion is optimism.
Optimism. Their dominant emotion is optimism. Okay, so let's talk about how that translates when it comes to being on time. And we're gonna talk about pace and energy in a minute. High Ds and Is are very fast paced. They move fast, they make decisions fast, they talk fast, they're fast. And so if a high I has an hour between this appointment and this appointment, what do you think they're gonna do with that hour?
Try to figure out something else to do.
They're gonna fill it. Absolutely. And so maybe they're gonna go to the bank and maybe they're gonna go to dry cleaners and mix. They're gonna get lunch, I don't know. And they're gonna be optimistic about how long that's gonna take. They're gonna be optimistic about traffic, I mean. Optimistic about construction, optimistic about they're gonna be the first one in line when they go to the bank.
Optimistic about taking advantage of that little hour. that they-
Exactly, they're gonna fill it, they're gonna overfill it, that's exactly it, that's exactly my point. And so if you struggle with this, you've got to remind yourself, okay, if I think it's gonna take 30 minutes, really, might it take 45 minutes or 50 minutes, and give yourself that time, because if you are somebody who's always late, it doesn't stress you out. Is it a form of massive stress in your life? Yeah. Let me ask the not high Is, the always on time people. When your high I friends, or it could be somebody you live with, are always late, what is your interpretation of that behavior? They don't care, disrespectful, wasting my time. What's the matter with them? If I'm here, why can't they be? Judgy. The people who are late, is that your heart? Is that your heart? Do you really not, you care, right?
Yeah.
So much that you're like racing, I'm so sorry, yes, that's right, yes, that's right. Right? Am I telling the truth? Am I speaking the truth? Okay. So. We've got it again, in my opinion, understanding behavior brings grace into your life, into your relationships, into your interactions. And so my high Is, my people who have high Is, give them some grace when they're late. They don't mean to be, they're freaking out, they hate that you're upset, trust me. However, my high Is, is it okay to always be late? No, figure it out. Says the girl that came in 3 minutes before the class because traffic and construction and da. I'm speaking to myself when I say figure it out, right? Just because I hear people, I'm a high D, I'm sorry I'm being a jerk, or I'm a high I, I'm sorry. No, it is, your behavioral style is not an excuse for your behavior. It's understanding so that you can adjust, bring in some emotional intelligence into your world and become better in despite what your natural tendencies can be. So Ish, if you're an Ish person, you might have some work to do here. High Is, how many friends do they have?
Lots.
All the friends.
Yeah.
When I was, everybody is a bestie in my world. Oh, she's a bestie. I have 50 besties. Have I given away what my name is? I mean, I do, I have a ton of friends and people think, well, all the friendships are this way and they don't go this way. right? They're just a lot shallow, they're not deep. That's not true. That's not true. Yet everybody, you're my friend until you prove you're not. It's kind of, so when I was with my real estate investment coach, and I'm calling, my agent friends across the country, and I'm like, okay, let me buy. And on the last week, he's like, you say that to everybody. I'm like, no, I really don't. Those really were my besties. But he heard like 10 of them. So they have a lot of friends. And so once again, people think that they're gonna be so successful at the lead generation. Yet that rejection is a huge thing that you have to overcome. Yeah, and you've got to get over yourself. I'm speaking of myself. It's not about you. And it's not a real rejection. It's just no means not now. Whatever you've got to do in your own mind to make that no not crush you, do it. No, 3 no's gets me to my next yes.
Yeah. I
For
was just gonna
sure.
say that.
Yeah. Yeah, and no means not now. So whatever you gotta do to overcome it. All right, the next one are S's. Do we know of anybody know they're an S in the room? So the S's are, in my opinion, the bread and butter of society. So they just want everyone to be happy with them and in general. They're supportive, cooperative, look at these words, stable, sweet, they like the status quo. Whereas the D's are like, hate the status quo. They can't say no, we'll talk a lot about that in a minute. They're very much team players, so they're very, like if you're a rainmaker and you have a team, those S's, they're your team players. Yep, they are 100%, that's the word I use a lot. They can be possessive, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. They're friendly, they're predictable, they like harmony, they love routines. They're relaxed, reflective, incredibly patient, typically, and polite. They're just very lovely people. Check this out. 69% of the general population are S's. I've seen that number anywhere from 50 to 70. It's the majority, either way you look at it. So when I'm looking at this, you guys, I want you to see that we're talking about clients, okay? The majority of your clients are going to be S's. Their key question and heart is, how can I help? Is that a good energy to bring into a real estate situation? How can I help? That's all they want to do is help. Absolutely. They're slow paced and loyal. Okay. What's their dominant emotion?
No emotions.
Mm-mm. You're not gonna know when you take them off. You're not gonna know, you're not gonna get those visual clues that maybe we're used to. Their dominant fear, and there's 2, is loss of security and change. Sorry, I meant the 2 is security and change. Conflict is a huge fear. They hate conflict, and I'm using that word very deliberately.
Which makes sense why they can't say no.
Yeah. Let me tell you this, guys. What is a negotiation?
Conflict.
Using what they want against.
Yeah, and a D is gonna go get the deal done, gonna go get what his client wants. An I is a problem solver. They're jumping in the conflict because it's like, we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
An S, that's conflict, that's scary.
They're hovering on into the bushes.
Yeah. That's funny, yeah. I should put that there. So. If your job is to be the advocate for your client. And negotiation feels like conflict, do we have a problem? If we are the S, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, now, think of you as being the S. And your client is the S, and neither one of you wanna have the conversation. Like they're upset with you, or they want you to take the fight for them, or whatever it is, because, are we seeing emotion? No, so we're talking to the client and then let's say an inspection came up. And you're like, well, I want the house and I really shouldn't ask for this stuff and then your client is like, well, what do you think? And you're like, well, what do you think? And they're like, well, I guess it's okay. And you're like, okay. Your client, because he didn't show you the emotion, they're not okay. They wanted you to step in and pick up the ball and go take it out. But they're not gonna tell you to do it, because that's conflict. And then if you're the S on the, as the realtor on the real estate side, and you're like, phew, they didn't make me go to conflict, do you see? And we may never know that there was an issue, ever. Because once again, no emotion, no conflict, they're not gonna tell you they're upset. But they're not gonna refer you, they're probably not gonna leave a good review. And you're never gonna feel that warm and fuzzy from them. And so again, as a coach, when the majority of our population are S's and a lot of our real estate people are S's because they like that helping. Have you ever, hey, why'd you get in real estate? Well, I just love to help people. So we have a high number of S's also in real estate as agents. And so we've got to be aware that we have got to get over the conflict. So S's love to help. Nothing makes them happier than helping. So as a coach, I would get the S's to think about that. If you won't negotiate, if you won't be the advocate for your client, are you helping them? And sometimes that is how you can get in your own mind, if you're the S that doesn't like the conflict, and force yourself into that. Force yourself into that conflict, into that negotiation, because that's what's best for your client. And high S's love that word advocate, love that word fiduciary. I think those are really, really big, strong, powerful words that we are, right, in our description, right? And so be careful of this. The other thing I have to talk about when I talk about this is because it's such a big part of our, I think I broke my wrist. Even that part really bruised it. That we have to be aware of because of that no emotion and hating conflict is S's can have a tendency to be passive aggressive. Personally, you guys, I think passive aggressiveness is the most destructive thing there is in a relationship. Whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a business relationship, it is lethal to everything. And so if a high S hates conflict, many times a high S marries a high D. Funny how that works out. Because as the marriage, or whatever the relationship is, when you bring all four strings to the table, you have a nice strong thing. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. So if a high S hates conflict, what is a high D's dominant emotion? Anger.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
It's tough.
The S is shutting down. The D angered and 30 seconds later is fine. The S 5 years later is not fine. And they stuff their emotions and stuff their emotions and stuff their emotions and stuff their emotions. until it blows up and S goes everywhere. Thank you for that.
That should see what happens when two Ds get together.
No, they're fine, they're best friends in 30 seconds.
Oh, no.
Nobody is mad.
No, the fights go on and on and on.
Well, but it's up here, like if they're at the same place, nobody's stopping anything, right?
Yeah, no, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, mostly I know well, and men in general are like, I'm like, man, and then they go and play basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all are special. So this is where, have you ever heard of anybody be like, they come home and their spouse, the bags are packed, the divorce papers are on the paper, and they're out.
Mhm.
And the other one is like,
Excuse me, what?
can we have a conversation about this? No, they're done.
Yeah.
They're done. So there's responsibilities on both sides here. The D, and this is where I say that when you understand behavior, it can change your world. The D needs to remember that their burst of anger is freaking that S in their life out. And they need to create a safe place. And maybe that's a conversation about how you fight. The D is just like, we're just having a conversation, the S is like, this is a full-blown nuclear war fight. And I'm not even exaggerating that much. And the S needs to find their voice. They need to find the guts and the courage to have a voice. D needs to create a safe space for that, and the S needs to find the voice. So I've done these classes all over the country. Huge rooms, I think my biggest one was 100, small rooms like this. Almost always, there's somebody who is in tears because now they understand somebody in their life at a deeper level. They might be a kid, might be a significant other, might be a colleague, but now they understand. And this can literally change your relationships. I'm talking to my S's. Find your voice. And part of that voice might be going to that D that you love and that loves you and say, hey, I don't feel safe. Can we talk about how we have these conversations that the D just wants is a conversation and the S thinks it's a nuclear war? Does that make sense, guys? Is anybody relating to this specifically in your worlds? Yeah. So this one is huge. So again, as a client, actually, I think every behavioral style, when you're dealing with an S, which more than likely the odds are our clients are probably gonna be in the S's.
60 of them still.
Mhm.
Sixes.
Yep. We've gotta be super high tuned in to their emotion. If you think that this is that everything is okay, you gotta check back in. You might have to ask the question 4 different ways. Are you good with how we're handling this inspection? If it were a perfect world, what would you want me to go ask for? What are you really wanting them to take care of and what are you really okay with? You might have to ask it 2 more times before they finally will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And so if you're a fast pace, let's get her done, you gotta slow it down.
Yeah, I get myself really in trouble because I just blew just with a contractor, just like lit him up hard. And then later on, I found out with the S, it was like, oh. It got done and it got done perfect. At the end of the day, she was super happy, but I got myself in trouble.
Yeah. You're learning, right? That's how we learn. And yeah. I mean, any deer, I can have a story like that. We've gone off and again, in my opinion, this is all about maturity, emotional intelligence. We don't get to just say, well, I'm a high D and that's what we do. No. No. You don't get to be a D. Y'all know what I'm saying. All right, let's talk about our C's. And I learned when I lived in the South, When you say bless your heart,
You can say different ways.
it doesn't mean what you think it means.
This is for S or C?
This is C's.
I think
Oh,
it's still
so
on
it says
this.
S.
These are, oh, no, I'm so sorry, I'm still on our S's, forgive me. Thank you, yeah, so our S's. Supportive, sensitive, steady, stable, servant, that's a big word, I love that word, servant, they have a servant's heart. They really wanna serve. Again, the challenges, they resist change and conflict, we talked about the passive aggressive. They can take a long time to adjust to change, so oh my goodness, you guys, our industry, holy cow, the change.
Yeah.
In general, daily, right? And then in the last, well, you know, with the NAR, all that NAR crap that we've had to deal with, that's been a lot of change. Technology is a huge change. There's a lot of change in this business, just in general. And so that can be a challenge for highest, they really, they need to be. Sometimes you have to slow down and get them to embrace the change. In other words, get them to understand what's the benefit to the change.
So when we're working with S's, we really want to have like excellent, crystal clear communication
Oh, over communicate.
with a 5-year-old.
And ask a lot of questions. Because like when I think that buyer consultation or the listing consultation is the most critical thing that we can do, especially for the S's, because that's where we find out what their goals are. And we better go back and look at those again, because sometimes you have to go back to the S and say, you know, when we first met, you said this was really important to you, and now I see you giving this up. Have things changed, or is this still really important to you? Because they just want to get along. And sometimes it's to their detriment, yeah. They can hold a grudge. Anybody have an S in their life? Oh my goodness, these people
Yeah.
have grudges to the grave.
Stop.
Yeah, okay, it's a challenge for sure. And so to me, grudges, that's passive aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
They can be sensitive to criticism, we gotta be careful. They can have a hard time establishing priorities, because again, they want to make everybody happy. And so getting them to under systems, you guys, checklists, those kinds of things, they do well in that. If that's you do well in that. Again, they wanna make everyone happy. Here's what they bring to the table, they're reliable and dependable, like you can count on them. They're loyal, they're patient, they can be very empathetic, even though sometimes it's a challenge for them to show their emotions. They're compliant towards authority, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I can tell you behavioral style by how you answer that question.
Oh, it could be both.
Yeah, is that a good thing? Is that a good thing?
I think it could be both.
Yeah.
Depends on what's going on, yeah.
It's a yes.
Yes.
It depends, they're very good at getting along. Very good, okay, so these are the be a little early. Because they don't wanna keep anybody waiting. So they're usually gonna show up five minutes early. Now, let's flip that, our client is an S. If I have an S client, I usually like to pull up in the front, like 5-10 minutes early, I'm finishing up whatever in the car, so that I'm walking up to the door just a smidge, 3-4 minutes early. Now you show up at a high eyes house, 3 minutes early, they're still vacuuming.
They're not ready.
Yeah, like when I'm having a party, if you show up early, you're now helping. You're putting stuff, you're opening wine, you're putting stuff out, thank you, and they're happy to. They're happy to, yeah. So time is critical. And they usually just have a couple of very loyal friends as well. All right, now we're gonna get to our C's. Lots of C adjectives, which I think is so fun about this. They're cautious, calculating, and calculating, I mean, calculator, not manipulative calculating. Competent, cognitive, contemplative, careful. They can come across as cold. We're gonna talk more about that in a second. They're perfectionists. They can be incredibly stubborn. Any C's in that? No C's?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you stubborn a little bit?
Let's see, yeah.
Yeah. Accurate, very accurate, and incredibly detail oriented. God bless the C's in this world. They're I'm telling you. I love the C's. Their major, saying is prove it,
Prove it.
prove it. And if you can't, and they're your client, you're in trouble. They're only about 12% of the population. And I would guess in real estate, they're about maybe a little bit more than that. Again, their key question is that accurate, prove it. They're very slow pace. They love details. They love structure and they love schedules, systems. Love it. Now, their dominant emotion is compliance. They are the rule followers. Hardcore. Their number one fear is being wronged / criticized. They're not often wrong, I will tell you. When a high C tells you something is what it is, usually the right answer is, okay, because they're usually right. Why?
They have the facts to prove it.
They have the facts.
Pay attention to everything.
Yes, they pay attention, they've done the research. You guys, you know when you sign up for something and there's 4 pages that you scroll through and then you check the I read this
Yeah,
button?
who reads that?
The C's.
You know, I don't. Yeah, they do. Okay, they're cautious, competent, creative, curious coordinators. Now, let's talk about some challenges. They want clear-cut boundaries for actions and relationships. Is this business clear-cut? Oh
No.
my goodness, no. They can be bogged down by procedures and methods. Bogged down in details. They don't like to verbalize their feelings. You can see it on their face, and usually it's like you're an idiot. kind of look. People only laugh when I am speaking the truth. They'll give in rather than go, oh, you know what, you're in trouble. If you have a high C in your world and you're arguing with them and they say, okay, you're in so much trouble, so much trouble. Because that's about to come back at you. So they'll give in rather than argue. Analysis paralysis, this is huge. Huge for high Cs. They can be incredibly judgmental. That kind of goes back to they think they're right. And they can be stubborn. Okay? But here's what they bring to the table. They bring perspective. They are the anchor of reality. I look at it as a high C is down, it's a kite, right? So the high I is flying on a kite. The high C is here reeling them in. So every high I needs to see in their life, trust me. Mine is my transactional coordinator. I would be lost without her. Lost. That optimism that high I's are about, these guys are the ones that are gonna punch holes in your optimism. So, and that's a good thing, I think. They criticize, they test information, they're conscientious and even tempered. They're pretty even tempered. They not much can make them that mad. They define situations, find holes. Again, they follow rules and procedures. They're thorough in all their activities. And did I mention they love rules? They're the rule followers. Okay, yeah, so this is the Vince Lombardi quote. This is high C's. You be early or you're late. Now, the thing about C's, let's talk about this in the real estate world. How do you think, as an agent, how do you think a high C, how are their contracts?
Meticulous.
Meticulous. Perfect. How are they lead generating? What kind of clients do you think they were gonna deal with?
They're not good.
They're just not good.
They're not good clients. I just have clients.
What, let's flip it to the client side. What kind of, how would you recognize a high C as a client?
They read everything you give them,
I would say probably engineer or,
professions.
yeah.
Yes. Engineers, accountants, lawyers, what kind of lawyer? You're a trial lawyer, you're a D, you're an estate lawyer, you're probably C.
Yeah.
So could go either way. Yeah. So who has ever done a CMA that has like 15 pages and 10 of them are graphs? Or do you just say, no, we're not gonna put those in our CMA? Yeah, because I don't know how to explain all those graphs. But that engineer, you give them those graphs, oh, you got it, you're in. Cause they love that stuff, right? And so if you're gonna give the graphs, you better understand the graphs. Cause they're gonna ask you to explain the graphs, and you're gonna be spending time on the graphs. You bring a graph in front of a D or an I, they're gonna be like, their eyes are gonna gloss over.
Tell me the bottom line.
Yeah, the D flips to the last line and sees what are you saying you're gonna list my house for?
Right.
Right, the eyes are like, well, tell me who you worked with and tell me about all your different, right? They wanna hear the stories around it, right? So. Let me ask you, Margaret. Our high C agents. What do they love to do?
Study,
Yes,
they go to every class.
every class.
They
Every
don't
class.
move till they know every piece of it.
Are you ever gonna know real estate? Ever?
No,
All of it.
No.
Ever. It's one of the things I love about this business. Every client is different, every property is different, every contract is different, every deal is different. That's fun to me. To S's and C's, they're like, what do you mean? I can't learn it all and then go do it. What's the best way to learn this business? Go do it. Yeah. So I have had, in my coaching days, I have had my high C agents, I'd be like, if I see you in one more class, we're in trouble. You're kicked out of classes. You can no longer come to no more classes until you do blah, blah, blah. Because they love it, and that analysis paralysis is real. Doing a CMA, is that sometimes a challenge?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there art to it, and there's some
Yeah.
science to
Yeah.
it, and then there's a little bit of magic gray thrown in when we're trying to figure out prices, right? They don't like that. They wanna be able to figure it out. That's why C's really love the transaction coordination side of the business. Is because it's a system that they can follow, they'll catch every single thing that their high D and I clients miss. And they have their system. It's a beautiful thing. So you've gotta be careful if you are the C. Your handwriting looks like a high C. Do you have C in your room?
S, I, and C were all above. the
All
line.
above, okay, yeah,
So I have an interesting mix.
yeah, yeah, for sure, and we're gonna actually talk about the combinations in a second. These are also very loyal. They typically, their best friend is typically their significant other, and that's it. And again, did I mention they're rule followers? I love the rules.
Hmm.
All right, let's, okay, let me stop here now that we've done this far, we've covered them all. So COVID was one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen when it came to behavioral styles. When I I told you I got certified during COVID, right? And so I have done this assessment multiple times. What do you think, other than my eye, what do you think I am?
Yes.
No.
I just read dependable.
See?
No.
See?
Oh, God, it barely shows up as a color, the C. D, I'm a DI. Or an ID, depending on the situation.
So ask them what I am, because they work with me all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't answer. I know.
What do you think she is?
DD.
I know, I just.
A DD? That's really scary, Sherry. They usually get it wrong. Maybe a DC? A lot of people think I'm a DC because of the way I look at your contracts. And the level of detail when I give you your feedback on your contract.
Well, it's definitely D, but I don't know what else.
So you all think I'm a C.
No, I
Oh,
know,
that's too
I
bad.
would say no on C.
What do you think I am?
S. I'm gonna say DS.
I'm a DI. They're almost tied, Lisa.
Yeah, you and I are exactly the same.
DI.
So I was the compliance officer or the compliance broker at my market center many years ago. It was the worst.
I was gonna say that does not.
I'm not even, it was the most painful thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
Because I can't bring myself to that level of detail, it freaks me out. When, so I was raised by an engineer, my dad was a petroleum engineer before he, retired. And so, and my mom was an IS, my dad would be a CS, so very stable, steady. My mom's I was the social, by the way, the high Is, there are two kinds of Is, we talked about the party. There's the Is that are the life of the party, that are the, you know, the stories and all of that. And then there are the Is that just want to be in the room. So not every I is the flashy, telling all the stories. You can be a high I and not be the center of attention, you just want to be there, you just want to be at the party, right? Okay, so this goes back to what I was saying about your actual behavioral style may not emerge until later. So I was raised by C's and S's. And here is me that has an entrepreneurial, hates the rules person being raised by the rule followers. Really, really, really tricky. And so I feel like that part of me was always suppressed. Like somebody should have, and I blame my high school counselors, I blame so many people. You guys have, you know DECA? You don't remember what DECA is? It's the entrepreneur business that is in high schools. I should have been in DECA starting in 9th grade. I didn't even know what it was until my senior year, and it was too late. So I go to college and I decide, you know, you don't have to really go to your first class, you know, your first year and a half is usually just getting the basics out of the way, right? So I go to college, I knew I was gonna be a business major, but I was gonna be computer programming. Because that was the big thing, that's the thing that was gonna make a lot of money, right, computer programming. So it's not until my sophomore year that I go to my first computer programming class. And I'm showing my age because that's back when we had like cards and zeros and ones and the green paper. You guys probably don't even know. But I wrote my first computer program and it's this thick. And the stupid thing wouldn't run. I take it to the TA and he's going through this, like reams of paper, and he's finally like, that's an O, not a 0. I'm like, went and changed my major to marketing where I should have been in the beginning, right? Then I graduate college, I don't know what I wanna be when I grow up, so I decide court reporting school. Cause those people are making a lot of money, You guys know court reporting, there's people that do the closed caption too. Do you know how accurate you have to be?
Like, 100%.
Ridiculous. You all know me well enough now, can you see me in a courtroom on the thing? About what happened, what he's, I'd be like, he said what? She said what? It's my dad's influence. All the way until I was in my twenties, you guys, before I finally embraced my behavioral style. And I'm telling you the story so that if you have kids, you can recognize their behavioral styles. And you can help guide them to the things that give them joy. So, can I look over a contract for compliance? Can I do that? Am I capable of it? Yes. Can I run the numbers? Yes. But what do you think it does to my energy? Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted at the end of that task. So when we're looking at that adaptive versus natural style, my adapted, my C could have come up in those days, right? If I was taking the assessment with my job in mind, my C could have been up, but it would have been on the adapted side. And if I would have understood, it would have been exhausted. I would have understood what it did to my battery. Whereas if I'm in an environment like teaching and training is a perfect example. I will leave here buzzing. I get so much energy from interacting with people like this. I need a listing or an open house or whatever, and I'm like, because I'm just so hyped up on the energy of that interaction with those people. Or a goal, like she mentioned that we're doing this investing, and it is, I am like buzzing on this because it's so exciting, and it's like this, right? Change and stuff is going super fast. So it's gonna be the same for S's and C's. When you are dealing with clients, so how can I, let's go back to this. Every behavioral style has an energy and a pace. And they also have are they task oriented or are they people oriented? And so when people couldn't understand Margaret's behavioral style, this is gonna help you figure this stuff out. So we already talked about D's. What's their pace? Fast, fast. Talk fast, move fast, make decisions fast, 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 fast. What are I's? Pace. Fast, 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 fast. What are S's? Low. What are C's? Slow. Okay. What would you guess a high D, just talking about a D, would you guess that person is more about the task or more about the people? Task. Good job. Very much about the task oriented. What are the I's? People or tasks? All about the people. What are the S's? People or tasks? People. What are the C's? Just the tasks. Just the tasks. Don't give me any people. Yeah. And so, when you guys see your assessments, you're gonna see that typically we are typically a combination. And it's a great thing, because if I was 99% D and that was the only other thing I was above the line, I'm what? D, probably. But if I'm a DI, I'm fast, right? The fast is just, you're really fast. And yet I've got the people and I've got the tasks. So she actually said it earlier, she's like in D mode, and that's what we say. I get in D mode when I'm trying to walk through Costco with a cart and I want to heal everybody that's in my way.
So people are eating the samples that take the photo.
Yes.
I just have to make
They
sure.
should
You understand in the cart in the middle of the. It's like bloody move. Yeah. So I can get that flash to anger like the best of the D's. However, I've got enough I in me that I care enough that that flash doesn't come out, because I want people to like me. So you've got to know, okay, so in lead generation, which of my behavioral styles suits me best? Really?
Well, depends on what kind of lead generation you're doing, I suppose.
Any new generation, doesn't matter. So on my database, as an I, is my database probably pretty big? As an I, is half of my database probably not actually in my database? Probably know a lot more people than I think, right? But do I wanna call my database
No.
as an I?
As an I know.
No.
So who do I have to step in? I gotta step in my D. Where I'm like, it's not rejection, it's not, you gotta do this, you've got goals, you gotta make it happen, they wanna hear from you, all the things we hear, right? And so that can work to your benefit. So often you'll see a DI combination, so you've got the task and you've got the people. And then another thing I see a lot together, and you guys mentioned it, was an SC. That they're slow, they like the systems, they're steady, they like the rules, so, and it's tasking people together. Again, so huge, those are probably the two most common combinations is a DI and an SC that I've noticed. Having said that though, you do see a lot of ISs, a lot, that are just about the people. What's the challenge? Yeah, we gotta bring some systems and stuff into their world. So people like that do really well with our company, with Keller Williams, with the systems and models and everything that we have. They do really well with that because they can plug into it. Then you also see, very common is DCs. Very, very common. And in fact, Cs in general can present like a D because they can be cold and they're just like, you wanna argue with me about what's right? But the pace is where you see the difference. Cause Cs don't move with that fast pace and Ds don't love the slowing down for the details. So a DC combination can be a tricky for you if that's your combination, because you're like, you're all about the task, we gotta bring some love and people into your world. And some be nice into your world. So you guys see the different combinations, and so so yours was an ISC, and so that's above your line, so you're mostly about the people. You're probably pretty organized, you're probably like the task side of things. So you've got a mix of everything, or you've got some fast pace, you've got some slow pace, so you're probably like, okay, what am I doing now? And am I gonna be in my I mode, or my S mode, or my C mode? And so during COVID, it was the first time ever that my adapted and I took the test again right before I went into certification. And it was the first time that my adapted and my natural were very different. And again, if they're very different, we've got to talk about, is this when you're at home? Is this when you're being watched? Is this whatever that is? And what had happened is my adapted D came way down. First time in my life, my D was ever, like normally it's above a 90 and it came down to like a 60, which is pretty extreme. And I was like, what is this about? Why is my adapted D during COVID? Why am I suppressing my natural D? Any thoughts?
You were at home more? Was it at home?
Nobody was around you.
You were out of control probably.
You're close. You're close. So let's talk about the different behavioral styles during COVID. How do you think the Ds reacted to COVID? What's their natural emotion?
Anger.
So they just walk around pissed off the whole time. Do they like rules?
No,
These?
no
What was COVID all about?
rules.
I had to wear a damn mask.
How to wear a mask, stay home, stay away, like, yeah.
I went to my cabin where nobody's at, and I,
a line. And especially stupid rules, piss these off, right? There's no reason, like you're driving down the street in your car by yourself and red. I'm not judging, I'm just saying, this is how these are looking at the world, right? Right?
Right.
Phenomenally pissed off everywhere they went. The world has changed, the rules have come in, they're stupid, and they're mad.
Right.
How did the eyes react to COVID?
Facebook, I don't know.
Yeah, social media for sure, cause that's the only place you could get your.
Yeah, you're feeling isolated, you can't be around all those friends.
The eyes were in the corner in the fetal position,
Right.
sucking their thumb going, my life is.
It's hard to be optimistic. Right?
That's so true, it was like keeping that optimism, which is vital to a high I, vital to their, literally their mental health. Was a challenge, that's a really good point, I never thought of that. But they were like they couldn't get to their people, they couldn't have the patios, they couldn't have the networking events. Everything was on Zoom, nobody cares how cute my outfit is on Zoom. I'm just speaking the truth. Okay, how did our S's react to COVID, guys? Well, it's funny you said that.
Trying to keep the peace, maybe.
Staying home with their favorite people was heaven. For sure. They were very happy about that. But they were also scared to death about their loved ones. They were the ones that were like, what if, they have to take care of everybody, make sure everybody's okay. And what about those C's? How did they react?
They're happy.
Buy all the toilet paper, buy all the masks.
That's where all the toilet paper went.
They're the ones yelling at the Heidi's in the grocery store that didn't have their mask on. You need to put your mask back.
All the rules.
Those are the C's. They're the ones that, do you guys remember the little 6 feet?
Oh my
You
gosh,
had to
yeah.
stand 6 feet?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are like this. Right up against that
That
certain board,
should
that
say,
one is-
why are you on my back?
Is that the people I had was yelling at all
Yeah.
the time?
Yeah.
I was like, you're standing too close to me, he's like, get away from me.
Yeah, absolutely. They were the rule followers. And so, going back to why was my adapted different during that time? My high I was in mourning. And I was all D. I was walking around mad. That was my only emotion during that time, was severe anger. I mean, I don't know the words. But can I walk around being mad all the time? So I had to suppress that D. And that's why that, for the one and only time in my life, that came up as my adapted was different, because I had to bring down my D, which sucked the energy and life right out of me. The battery right out of me. I thought it was the most fascinating thing to understand how COVID, how every behavioral style was just so totally exposed during COVID. It was crazy. What questions do you guys have before we get into the breakout?
Not a question, just a comment of
Yeah.
how, you're such a mix of all of the things, at least I think I am, and not dominant in just one.
Do you have your results yet?
Yeah,
So what are they?
for natural, I have 56 for D, 75 for I, 34 for S, and 642 for C. So it's mainly D and I.
Yeah, so that's not unusual at all. A lot of times you'll see 3 above the line. And that's just, I think of it kind of as a chameleon. You can kind of adapt to whatever the situation.
It's kind of how I feel like
Yeah.
I haven't taken mine yet, but just hearing it all, like. I'm curious to know what I actually am.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I might be a chameleon too.
Yeah, and it's okay because and nothing is absolute. And you will find yourself behaving in a style. And I wish I could remember, I had a coaching client in Oklahoma City. It's actually my rookie of the year, 1 year. And he said, he had this thing that was like, treat every client like all of it, like. Bring the energy, bring the love, bring the rule, treat I can't remember, it was really good though. I shouldn't have even brought it up, cause now I'm not gonna remember it. I gotta find it, because it was, it was good enough to actually put in this presentation. But you really, the goal is to get to where you understand, where you can figure out what a client is. So how would you recognize a high-D client? What is their conversation like? They're gonna talk fast.
They almost talk in bullet points, they're just, yeah.
Huh?
They're from New York.
You know what? Hilarious about that. Different parts of the country are different behavior patterns. It is crazy. Different countries in the world are different.
South, you
behavior
gotta talk
styles.
slow and.
They're all a bunch of S's,
Understand your
bless
word.
your heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Germans, what would you say? Germans are high C's, right? They're all about that engineering and doing things the right way. And who do you think the eyes?
Spain.
I was gonna say, Brazil, but yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a conference where the Brazilians, they bring the tambourines in their suits?
High energy.
Oh my goodness, they're the most fun people on the planet. I would say British people are S's, no emotions, stiff upper lip, don't let anybody know how you feel, steady status quo, right? Yeah, and who are the D's? Who are the drivers? In the world? New Yorkers. Could be US is, I would say if I had to classify, I'd say US is S's, just because the majority of our population are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lived in Pennsylvania for a minute and I was like this the whole time because that East Coast just.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay,
Great.
so, what we're doing, yeah, I probably would enjoy it now, that was back before I knew who I was. What I'd like to do, or what is our expectation for time?
We have about 40 minutes left.
Oh, we won't take that long. What I'd like to do, and this might be a little tricky with, a smaller room and the fact that some of you don't know what exactly you are, if you haven't had a chance to take the assessment yet. What I'd like to do is who knows or thinks that you're a high D? Are these two?
Feel like I'm a high D.
I'm gonna go with my.
Okay. So for sure you. So I want you guys to come to this corner. I love these, they have the.
Sticky.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some on that, and they're in the box, and some on top too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that are on top, I'm sure like.
All right, so. And. All right, and then, so D's over here. Let's-
daughter.
Okay, you're welcome, my pleasure. Let's do the eyes in that corner. Who do you, so we think.
My S was my highest, so I'll
S
say yes.
is your high eye. Do we have one more eye?
S.
I think you're an eye, actually.
I was gonna say, I think.
Yeah,
might
I
be
think
a high.
you need to go back there. Okay, now who thinks your dominant S is? Are you by yourself? Do we not have one more person that thinks they're?
I think that I think I'm a lot of.
You don't know where you're at?
I didn't take this assessment yet, but I definitely have somebody, you're definitely.
Tell me,
I'm definitely
what do you
not an
think?
I.
Not a B.
Not a B.
I don't think so either.
Maybe my first.
I would probably. It has an F, yeah, or S.
That's mine.
And pass.
Probably leave.
I think, yeah, there's no doubt, I think that's they're back there. Unless you can squeeze up here, so your S is highest. Obstacle course back here.
Depends on if you're talking about adaptive or.
Only natural.
Natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you natural? You're an S.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Or do we have any Cs?
I don't think we have anybody that's high.
No, not this from.
No?
Definitely not a
No.
C.
Okay, well, we'll pretend. Will you be a D with him? I guess.
Hello, it is one of her.
Depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm a D and sometimes I'm an I.
I'll play a C today if you want me to.
Why don't you? Just because we already have 3 of them.
I know. I'm like, you need somebody to like play a C.
That was such an S thing to do, thank you.
Oh,
That's why.
that's why we balance each other so well.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So I'd like you to. I can write on these, right?
Yes.
I'd like you to draw a line across your page like this. And at the top, you're gonna write what you are. And then here, you're gonna write what you love about you. Okay? And over here is gonna be what annoys you about the others.
All
You
right,
guys see it?
On the right side.
all right. Love about you, annoys you
So
about
on
that.
the left, what you love about your behavior, so what you appreciate
Yeah.
about what you are, what you bring to the table.
As this letter?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so she's got it exactly right. So on the left, you're gonna be like, here's what we love about S's and being an S. And over there, you're gonna say, here's what annoys me about D's. You might need a little more room there.
Yeah.
Here's what annoys me about I's, here's what annoys me about C's. And then you're gonna write that. Okay, so we're gonna just take a few minutes and work through that.
Loves, I would say,
Okay.
Okay, so we gotta think like a C.
Yeah, think like a C.
This is hard. Okay, I mean, it's there, but it's not like, okay.
So I were all of the.
Qualities.
Yeah, I wish I.
Yeah.
And, no, what's not. I would say like one party, I also have social. We're scary. Yeah. Yeah. I'll say interactive for social. Another board.
Yeah.
What else did you say?
Understanding.
Optimistic.
Trusting.
Felt like I was gonna live here most of the list.
No.
I could pick something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't remember which one it
Goodness.
Yeah, oh my god.
We're not.
Yeah.
It was a lid right that big on this one.
And just, I would take again.
Oh, like,
Ready down. Pop up and like, oh my god.
Oh, no,
That-
I thought
like-
that for a minute. I usually do. Pop up. My bracelet was, I was really afraid
A
of
few
my
years ago, I
hair.
took my dog and it was like, I was gonna try to run again and I was trying to get back into it. And I tripped over sidewalk like that and I went down. My glasses went flying because I don't want glasses. I'm like,
High value.
and I came back pretty soon and my husband's like, what happened?
I know. My city food for me.
Is it S's that have to give me every detail in the story?
People being late makes.
Or
me-
they are.
Or do they go on and on and on and on?
Isn't that the eyes?
They go on and on and on.
They're like on and on. Okay, so what annoys me as a C about the Ds is that they would.
I was just gonna say that.
I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Maybe design of buses too,
Yeah.
and I would say holding. a-
Oh, look at there, they have the list.
I took really good notes.
Spoken like a C, that's hilarious.
Here, cause I'm trying to remember all this, hang on.
Are we for S's? What did I say, time?
Okay, so.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. They don't care. It's, sorry, it's okay.
S's are the students, right?
Does anybody have a black Cadillac parked out there?
I do.
Yeah, you might wanna pull it forward, cause we've got a nasty neighbor down the street.
Oh, she's
You're
here.
sitting out in the alleyway and they will turn you into the police.
Why, what's wrong with where I'm parked?
Because it's a little too far out.
You just have to go forward.
It's
so-
It's
Oh,
about this too far.
She's in a C.
what is her behavior style? What else? What else?
B.
She's a female, everybody's right? Yeah. So just literally, guys, take us to the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I have no fun, some of them.
See, yeah. They're.
Are the S's the ones that are in the classroom all the time?
I really tried to take this.
I think
before.
so.
No,
Because
They're studious.
I'm definitely not.
no, that was the
one.
C.
I'm definitely not one.
She said that was the C.
It would've been cool to see one.
Yeah. S's, you won't know when they're done. Their fear is loss of security or change and conflict.
I think that was the C that was in the class.
Yeah,
Like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They are.
Don't.
Like they're definitely. Yeah.
Because you don't have a three.
I don't.
But that's.
It's talk to me, not.
Yeah, his name was,
I feel like it's very easy going.
Yeah.
You have, you have basically a small, I gave him, one of my cards,
Like very meticulous to get
this card.
I'll say like-
Yeah.
maybe he forgot when he took the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those little.
Yeah.
That's good.
Let's go back.
There's a whole lot of people in there, Dad. My eye's coming out. I wanna go be the party girl.
Yes, I would also say doesn't show emotion.
The seven.
That's, yeah, because then like. They never will have that talk.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is my C not like about my S? My C doesn't like about my S. Good listener.
What are we doing?
So that's like the secret elections. I got to write them on all the answers.
We're gonna.
What did you say your highest was?
I, but my D was still over the line.
Okay.
It's funny, it's all.
Yeah, I ran into a buzzsaw the other day, where I was like a year ago. And she was like, well, I'll never hire you guys, well, I never want to work with you. I told her. And you would.
Like, okay. Okay. So I wanna take a pause because this makes me giggle. These are done,
When it says it's free after 7 o'clock.
Why are you surprised?
the eyes are done, oh, I didn't say I'm surprised. I said it makes me giggle. The Ds are done, the Is are done, cause they're what?
Figuring out, yeah.
They're fast paced, right?
Yeah.
Usually what happens, like if we had like 5 or 6 people in a group, usually the Ds would be like, we're done. Cause even that was a contest, yeah. Exactly,
Damn, we needed Amanda here today.
I know. She was
She
like, we're done.
would, she would.
Why do you think the S's aren't done?
They're slow paced.
They're slow paced, but what else?
They put a lot of thought into it.
Huh?
They want to put a lot.
They wanna put a lot of thought into it, also,
Details.
it is hard for them to say bad things about other.
Oh.
There's nothing. I know, see, isn't that, oh my, it makes me just giggle, I just love it. Yeah, because it is like, it hurts your heart a little bit to say what you don't like about people, you're like, we like everybody. Because,
There's no emotion.
yeah. So sometimes you gotta, you're good.
I don't know what else, right, I'm trying to find.
You
my
really are behaving like a C though, good job. Good job,
notes.
okay,
I have a little bit in there.
we can just do this from here. Because it's such a small room. So let's start with our Ds. I love the eyes is the one that drew the hearts and the faces, by the way.
I'm bald, like
I would normally see that on that, but always they draw something. And do something, some kind of flair to their list, so, good job. Okay, so tell me about, what do you like about being a D?
Quick decisions, get it done. Don't waste time.
Yep. Keep going. Tell us everything.
Never bored, no fear, like door knocking, cold calling, hiking, motorcycling, I mean, just you name it.
Yeah. No fear, that's kind of a cool way to live, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, tell us what annoys you about the eyes. Oh, you wrote that.
They go on and on and on and on. And I don't care if it was a pink shirt or a green shirt. I don't care if you were 9 or if you were 8. I don't really care.
So when you're in, cause you're like, we're the same, you're a DI, but so when you're in a conversation. And you're talking, just socially talking with people. Do you ever tell the story or are you always in D mode when you are in conversation?
So I think that is more of business. When I'm social, I can absolutely be the storyteller with all of the details, at least at a higher level of detail.
Mm-hmm.
But when when I have my business mode hat on, I'm like, we got things to get done, let's go, right?
So
And
which hat does she wear in business?
D.
She's in her D. Yeah, but socially, she can take off the D and put on the I. And that's who you get. So. Now that you know this about your coach, when you're going into her office, how do you platinum roll her? How do you treat her? How she wants to be treated?
Get to the point.
Get to the point. Can you have fun? Can you be friendly? Sure, doesn't mean she's a D.
Not a B.
A female, a B. And yet, being ready, being concise, getting right to the point. Because why do you think she's a coach? I should be able to answer this. Why is she a coach?
She's good at influencing people as well.
Mm-hmm. What else?
She does get to the point.
That's why she's a good coach.
Yeah, she knows that.
Why is that her vocation? Why is that what she does?
She likes people in this position to succeed.
Yes,
It's the I part, guys. It's the I part.
100%.
I care about all of you.
and the S is too, but she's not. But it's the people.
She loves you guys like you would not believe.
You wouldn't believe how much she cares about you and your success. This is not a job that you do other than the fact that you care, you know?
Yeah.
Anytime I've had a rookie of the year, I'm the one bawling, not them. Maybe they're bawling too, but
Who's gonna be it?
yeah, right? I identify that right away, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's because she cares, and so we're reading this book called Radical Candor. And and as a coach who has been through the training that she's been through, that candor, that go to that, get to the point, I'm gonna tell you how it is. That is actual care. That's how you know that there's care. And so she is all D as far as get to the point and get it done because of the care. Does that make sense? Because of the I. And so, yeah, okay, and we'll pick up the phone. Eyes won't pick up the phone?
They won't make their lead gen call.
Oh, the lead gen, oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, the S's. What challenges us about S's, SDs?
They're not necessarily willing to try something new,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't tell what they're thinking.
So we talked about this already because a lot of your clients are gonna be S's, whether you're an S or not. You've gotta understand, how do I platinum rule my S clients? How do I love them the way they are? How do I serve them the way they are? Cause that's a word that an S is gonna pick up on.
To pick up and make the decisions for, like, not for them, but help guide them to.
And how do I know? How do I know what that is? That's exactly it. You nailed it. So we've got to ask a lot of questions. One of the best things that you can do when you are getting ready to like refine your buyer consultation and your listing consultation, why am I using the word consultation, by the way? Very deliberately. What word am I not using?
Presentation.
Why am I not using presentation? Mm-mm. If you're presenting, that means you're talking. I've been presenting.
Yeah.
Now we're consulting more, right? And so if I'm presenting, I'm talking. If I'm consulting, what am I doing?
It's more of a dialogue.
I'm listening. I'm asking a question, and then I'm probably asking another question, and then I might be asking a third question to the same question. What's important to you in a house? Oh, we love a big backyard. Great. What about a big backyard is important to you? Oh, I love to garden. Great. What about gardening is important to you? Oh, I just love to get in the earth and feel that. Is a garden important?
Yeah.
So later on, when we're looking at properties and they give up that garden, do you guys see what I mean? This is how you love on your clients. Every behavioral style, you should be asking questions. The D's, your questions are straight and to the point. What's your reason? How much is it? What's it gonna be? What's your timeline? Done. But still questions. The I's, you're gonna get to the heart of the matter. Why do they wanna live in Old Town Arvada? Because I wanna walk to all of the restaurants and have all my neighbors, and I walk down the street and everybody knows my name. Do you guys understand that when people say they want that in a neighborhood, that's what they're looking for? Their I's or S's. Cause they want that social, right? So you still gotta ask the questions, but you might wanna get a little deeper because they're gonna tell you the stories. As a client, do we let the high D's, do we let the I's tell their stories?
Yes.
Because we're funding them, platinum rule, right? Now, do I have to rein it in a little bit? Do I have for sure, for sure. And so there's ways around that, but S's especially, probably more than any behavioral style, you need to ask a lot of questions. C's, how do I know my client is a C?
They wanna know the rules, how do we do it, it's kind of black and white, like, what's the steps?
They might even ask you when they first talk to you, how many houses have you sold, what's your average sales price, what's your days on market? And you can't lie, cause they've looked it up already, it's a test, it's telling you, you're gonna have all your graphs. You're gonna ask a lot of questions, and guess what? They're gonna have the answers. They're not gonna say, oh, I'll look that up, or, when did you buy the house? December 16th, 1975. When did do you have your appraisal from when you bought the house 20 years? Of course we do. And they can find it in 3 seconds flat, tax is probably already on the table. Right, that's how you know you're dealing with a C. And as a D and an I, I'm just saying, you gotta up your game. When it comes to your knowledge, there ain't no winging it with a C, right? Our conversation earlier, there's no winging a C. That's, you're going down in flames. If you try to wing it with a C. So you've gotta bring your preparedness, is that a word? To a high level with a C. You're still asking them all the questions, just be ready, because they're gonna have all the answers for you. And they're probably gonna have questions for you that you better have back. When you know you've got a high C, your market report and your CMA has gotta be on point. Gotta be on point. You guys know who Megan Eller is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did she? C. What else? I don't know this for a fact, but I'd put $1,000 on it. She's all D.
Yeah.
Well, that girl has. Don't get me wrong, I love her. She's brilliant, but she's not gonna sit down and go to lunch with you and have a conversation. I'm sure she has good friends. But I've never seen a warm and fuzzy side of that girl. Which kind of intimidates me actually a little bit. She's so super smart. Yeah, so, okay, so good, so. Put up on that attendance. C, what annoys you about the Cs?
They won't move till they have all the answers. They want a certain level of perfection.
Yeah.
They wait too long to go into action or to make a decision. Or they just simply won't take action. Right?
Yeah, analysis paralysis is a real thing. Now let's talk about a C client. Is it our job sometimes to move them into action?
Yeah.
I mean, that,
It's tough.
probably like it all does. It's tough, so how do we love them where they are, guys?
How do we what?
How do we love them where they are? How do we platinum rule them? How do we get them to make the decision that we know they need to make, that they told us they need to
Feed
make?
them the facts that
Yeah.
get them to that
it's tough to say
decision.
that.
Exactly. Give them all the information and give them the consequences. Here's what's gonna happen if we blah, 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 or if we don't blah, 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 right? So they're the ones, probably more than any behavioral style, that you can bring the negative side to it. Like, I'm concerned that if we don't get this on the market in another 10 days, we're gonna miss the selling season. Because they want to prepare the house,
Right.
right? They're practically remodeling the house, getting it ready. Gotta get all the inspectors out, gotta do this. It's like, let's just get on the market. We'll find an in between. You guys see?
Yeah.
You gotta figure that out because they can overanalyze that side of it too. They can overanalyze price. Usually they're pretty close, so I'll give them that. Okay, anything else over here? All right, let's talk to our eyes. This is another thing I love about, look at everybody's sheet. Who's is full? It always happens, it's. All right, okay, how much do the eyes love themselves? You guys look at
They
this.
love, yes.
Oh my goodness, isn't that so much fun?
Yeah.
Eyes really, yeah, they're like. What do guys love about themselves? Read some of that to me.
We said we like that we're involved, can be inspiring, that we're interactive, social with people. You wanna read some?
Now we're back to the party.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it just seems like a very social person.
Yeah.
That likes interacting with people, can be encouraging, optimistic, and they seem very easygoing.
Yep. I would agree. All right, I's, what annoys you about our D's?
Being angry.
Always mad, why are you so mad?
Like you.
Yeah,
They can
I'm
be
happy.
insensitive.
they can be insensitive.
Facts.
Why do they always have to bring the, yeah? What else?
We said high value on time.
Yep, and that annoys you because I don't usually put
Well-
well, it's,
Things happen, you know.
yeah, ish.
Yeah.
It's ish.
It's traffic.
It's ish.
It's traffic-ish thing.
Yeah, traffic ish, for sure. Okay, S's.
We said that they're trying to keep the peace.
And then holding a grudge.
Is that always a bad thing to keep the peace? Peace at any price?
Yeah, but I'm more of a person that, I don't care if it's a conflict, I just want it to. get
Yeah.
solved.
Yes. Absolutely,
That's
that's
how I am too, so that makes, I have to be everything. I have. You probably are.
That's spoken actually like a true us, and that's okay. Because you haven't done it yet, right?
No,
So you're not afraid of conflict, right?
I'm not.
So I'm gonna guess that you're probably an SC. Because remember I said Cs can present like a D. In that they don't hate the
I am
conflict.
not, like, I'm not an
You're not
actual rule follower.
Are you organized?
I am organized.
Do you like a good Excel spreadsheet? Does it make you happy?
I'm not very good, I'm not very good with Excel, but I do like a minor. I like lists
Okay,
and, yeah, a little bit.
well, you'll be interesting, you'll have to let me know what yours is.
Yeah, I think my personal life is different than
100%.
yeah. Certainly this life where I'm super, don't know what I'm doing and new and all that. So I think they're probably totally opposite.
So that sounded like a pure C.
I guess I'm just, yeah.
I'm just saying, because we'll figure it out and we'll see it.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, if I had to guess, you won't hear a D and an I say, I don't know what I'm doing.
We don't figure it out.
okay, yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're just gonna jump in and do the thing.
Yeah.
And it's not, you guys, I hope you hear me, this is not a judgment
No.
at all. That is what a C behavioral style would say, I don't know what I'm doing. Cause what I heard is, I'm not successful, I'm not ready because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, did I not just say all those things?
Well, not really, you'll see what is successful and you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
doing, but yeah, so. So the conflict, when I'm talking with somebody and, we're just, cause I could bring this up at any conversation, I love it so much. I will ask how they handle conflict. I will ask somebody, how do you handle conflict? How do you feel about conflict? Because that is one of the biggest things to figure out if they're going back and forth between an I and a C.
Yeah, I handle conflict straight on,
Yeah,
because that passive aggressive stuff
You
does
can't
not,
stand it.
no,
yeah,
that doesn't work for me.
yeah, so I'm guessing, I'm hearing a lot of C, we'll see what your thing says. Yeah, because, it's different levels, just because you're a C behavior doesn't mean you're an engineer or an accountant or whatever. I can present as a high C very easily, like, I do not like when things don't make sense, I don't like when things are wrong, I don't like it when people aren't logical, words matter. All of that is very definite C behavior, but my C is barely a color on the chart. And I think that's because I was raised by an engineer,
I too was raised by an engineer,
so yeah.
and I'm married to an engineer, so.
Bless you. Seriously. Yeah.
My mom was an artist, but I didn't get any of, yeah.
Yours will be
It'll be
interesting,
interesting, yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it right when I get home.
Yeah.
Now we wanna know what you're like.
And tell me your name again, cause I'll get it.
Christy.
Christy, okay, I'll be watching for that, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, and did we finish?
See.
Yeah.
S.
Did we finish the S's?
We said trying to keep the peace, they hold a grudge.
Yeah.
which I think we're both like, just let it go.
Yeah.
And, maybe doesn't show emotion.
Mhm. It can be tricky.
Yeah.
Think everything is fine, and it's not.
Cause I wanna
All
know
right.
what they're thinking.
Yeah, and C's.
C's, we said that they're rule followers, can be inflexible and stubborn.
Mhm. Inflexible is a good one.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge to be a C in this business. Because not anything is hard to pass in this business, pretty much. Like, as an example, let's talk about the do not call list. I can tell your behavioral style by how you feel about the do not call list.
I don't call it.
Yeah, I won't call it.
There you go. So you actually look up the numbers and make sure they're on the do not call list.
Well, I was an investor before this, so I ran, and it would pop up, it would on the do not call list, and if it said don't call, because if they call me, I get pissed off. Because I'm on the do not call list and I don't want you calling me,
Yeah,
you know, so the,
remember
Isn't
when
that
I
the whole
said, remember when I said, when you say the words, cause this happens with everybody, door knocking, perfect example. I hate it when somebody knocks on my door, so I'm not gonna go knock on somebody else's door. Well, this isn't about you or your behavioral style. Go knock on the door and make friends.
but the do not call list is about them, because they put themselves.
Right. See, she's arguing me. I know. It's hilarious.
Part of what all of them are.
It is hilarious because I am more of a beg forgiveness, don't ask permission. That's my behavioral style, right?
Yeah.
So I've got to understand when I coach, just yesterday, they're not, and expired and I'm like, expired, they have their hand up, they used to go talk to them. But that's not his behavioral style.
Yeah.
They're on the do not call list, so no. Okay. Right? But it's very, for a C, it's very black and white. Very black and white. D's and I's are like, we live in gray. Mine is more of a teal gray. Yes, but, and so again, please hear me, it is not right or wrong, it's not judgment, it's understanding what it is, who you are, but more importantly, who is of the other person.
Yeah.
Who is that?
We'll see if I am.
Yeah, we'll be surprised, I will be surprised if you're not. But it's recognizing, so let's say, because I was raised by an engineer, I understand C behavior. If I say or do something that is in gray, right? A C might interpret that as being unethical or wrong, complete straight up wrong, right? So you've got to be careful. Because if you're like, loosey goosey, and they're like, here's the lane and here's where we have to stay, that can be a challenge too, right? So it's tricky. Okay, did we finish the season?
That's it,
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, great job. Okay, let's talk about our S's.
So team workers, caring for others, understanding, empathetic, and kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah, and so once again, half the sheet is empty. It's hard for them to say what they love because they're humble, they're service, they're, right? It's like, okay, she made me do the things, so what if you things And look at on the other side. The D's and the I's had no problem talking about what annoyed them. It was hard for you guys. It
I was
was-
almost to a point where like, we kind of gotta chill.
Yeah. We get another sheet of paper, Blake?
Yeah. I only brought 4.
Yeah. Exactly, so look at how hard it was, they were the last, in fact, I don't think they were even done, they probably could have gone another 30 minutes. But we stopped, and look how hard it was for them to put negative things about other people, but let's go ahead and talk about what you did put, what did you put for your Ds?
Bossy,
Ah,
inconsiderate. And, as if, it's as if they don't care, it comes off as if they don't care.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
How about that bossy word? I like that word, it's coming across. Bossy, you're bossy, don't boss me.
Just direct.
So what if that is a client? And you're sitting down as a high D, bossing them. You're not bossing them, in your mind, you're telling them how it's gonna be. And they're feeling like they're being bossed. If you make, hey, okay, so you walk in, you're like, okay, so look around, okay, so you're gonna have to paint. And we'll get a house cleaner in here and take out half the furniture and let's go ahead and box up all these figurines. They're like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how a high D might go into a listing presentation? Consultation? 100%. You gotta back that truck way back. And talk about why. Cause Ness will understand, and sees too, they understand the why. Why am I getting rid of all my furniture? Why am I no longer comfortable in my own home? So I say things like, your house is now a commodity on a market. It's not a home anymore. Are you able to make that shift in your mind? So this is when we talk about think about a buyer walking in, anything that looks like your beautiful home and your beautiful family takes away from them being able to envision their home and their family. Can an S wrap their mind around that conversation?
Yeah.
Sure. They're boxing up the pictures of the
They got it.
kids and they got it. Another great question for an S, I meant to say this earlier. What is your biggest fear in this process? Because they'll answer that. It may take them a minute, but they'll answer that. Being taken advantage of, not knowing the process, the change, the packing, the new neighborhood, the new school, whatever it. They hate change, guys. And we're moving. Whether it's across town or across country. How many of you moved in the last 5 years? We all should. It should be part of getting our license renewed. You have to move. You have to tax.
Too good, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So ask them what their biggest fear is, what their biggest concern is. And they'll tell you, and man, have that at the top of your file every single time you talk to them. One of the best things, I think this is the best phrase you can say in general, but to an S and a C is, okay, here's what happens next. Have you guys adapted that in your business? D's and I's were like, I don't have to tell you what happened next, we're just gonna do it. Gotta slow it down and say, okay, here's what happened. Because you guys see, we get so used to the flow of things
Yeah.
that we forget this is brand new for them.
Yeah.
I don't care if they've sold houses before. This is brand new. So when you say, what happens next? Okay, so we're in the contract. What happens next is we're gonna get the earnest money. We're gonna schedule the inspection. What time works for you? And here's when the inspection's in. You guys see that? What happens next? Okay, inspection's done. Okay, what happens next? We're gonna get together and we're gonna talk about what's important to you that they correct. What happens next? Okay, now we're just kind of in waiting mode for the title company to come back and for the appraisal to come back. And you guys see?
Yeah.
That's how you can love on S's and C's especially. But everybody, I think, appreciates that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What did you say about these again? Oh, we got that.
bossy.
Eyes,
Just the main weight, and for me, I put down exhausting, because it's the on and on and on of the story, and it's exhausting to me as an S.
that is really insightful. That high eyes have got to remember the energy that they're bringing. Remember S's, what's their energy?
Loves.
Pace, I should say,
Oh,
energy, slow. Eyes are like this. Yeah, if you're a high energy person, D's and I's, you gotta bring that down to our S's and C's, cause you're gonna, but are you gonna know that you're overwhelming them? No.
Nope.
You're not gonna pick up on those cues. So you just gotta bring it down, just gotta. and follow their pace. I think that's a big thing about living in a flattened role, is adjusting to their pace. So if a high I is at a listing consultation with S's and C's, and they leave, what's their energy when they get in a car? Is their battery full or is their battery empty?
And
It's drained. They're probably gonna need a nap.
that one, like the biggest things in sales though is always like reading your client and matching their energy.
Yeah, what do we talk about? Mirror and match,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical. And so let's flip that. You're an S agent and you're reading DI energy with your clients. What do you have to do?
Pick it up.
Mm-hmm. You gotta step up the pace. You gotta flip those pages a little bit faster. You gotta bring up the volume in your voice. You've gotta bring up the pace in your voice.
It's gotta be confident and clear.
Yes, you better bring that confidence, absolutely. How are you when you get in the car?
Also,
You're exhausted and anxious.
Because you might really want this client.
Yeah,
How much money am I making on this?
yeah, you're doing that real estate math really fast on that one. All right, awesome, and then what about our Cs?
Like know-it-alls, think that they are right and everything, and then just like rigid and inflexible, like just, you know, let loose and flip a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, they come across as a know-it-all, and I just have to say, usually they are right. So, of course, very rarely are they wrong. However, if I'm a C, and I'm presenting to any other behavioral style, and I come across as know-it-all, how's that come across?
You're probably not getting that.
Right. So there's a line between confidence and know-it-all,
Yeah.
right? And if you come, okay, tell me you haven't heard this. You are a C, this is probably one of the biggest challenges of a high C as an agent with a client. How quickly do Cs make decisions? Of all the behavior styles,
Slowest.
the slowest,
Slowest.
because they don't have all the facts, and they never will have all the facts, never.
We're afraid we don't have all the facts.
Right, but you never have all the facts in this business. High Cs can actually talk their clients out of making a decision, am I right? Because Ds and Is are like, done, we're ready, we're writing, and you're like, I only got to page 3. I haven't run the comps, I haven't run the numbers, you don't have any graphs for me yet. You can actually, I've seen it happen many times. You've got to remember that your client, when they make that decision, you go. You actually did your job really well, is the thing. Because you brought more information probably than a D or I or S would. Well, S's would probably. You guys following me?
Yeah.
So take that as a, whoa, I really did my job. They don't need the rest. You did a good enough job that they said, we're ready. Where do we sign? We're ready to write. We're ready to do it. Let them. Yeah. Shush. Yeah, shush.
Yeah, they still has to close.
Yep. Yeah. And talk them out of it.
Yeah.
Brought your fear into their world.
Right.
They were good. Wait. No. They're good. Move on. Good job. Okay.
I tried. to
She's
be a C,
pretending over here.
but
She
I
gave,
get time to get the note of
she
that.
gave some love. You would never see a heart on a C, but that's
It
okay.
takes time to get the facts. I think that a C is really, like, they think that's super important, so they're like,
Mhm.
I take the time, I get the facts, I know the right way to do things, and I'm gonna do them the right way.
Mhm.
I don't know what else to put, I was trying to like read my notes, but.
No, that's okay. Is it wrong to take the time to get the facts?
No.
Is that a bad thing? No. Just don't take
Too long.
too long. Analysis paralysis.
Right.
Be careful of that. All right, what makes you
I
annoyed
think
with the D?
A D is too quick, they don't have all the info, they're jumping in too quick.
Literally what I just said.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And that they could, I think a C would think they're just being mean or something, like that personality, like you would come across like, they're just mean. For an I put down the whole Pollyanna thing. Pollyanna idea, like the C is gonna think that that optimism, that Pollyanna stuff is just really annoying because they're like.
Because what is a C? I didn't mention this. What is a
more
C?
realist, more, I don't know.
What's the opposite of
Oh,
optimist?
Pessimist.
They're pessimists. They are straight up pessimists.
They're pessimistic.
They
yeah.
are the sky is gonna fall, be prepared, pessimist. Now you've got an optimist and a pessimist.
So they're
Engineer
all-
dad,
Yeah. Yeah,
to this
Yeah.
day, I battle with this,
right,
to this day.
I'm sure. As a C, I think you would take that as they're not being realistic, they're not being, and they're not on time, and that would be really annoying, because that C said, you better be 15 minutes early, so if you're showing up 15 minutes late, they feel like you're 30 minutes late.
Right, and so what did we say a C is? They can be a little judgy,
Yes,
and that's where that can come out. So Cs, careful that you don't go into the judgy,
right,
careful that you don't bring your expectation, the golden rule,
right,
into the expectation. Like if you've got a high eye client and they're always late, roll with it. Bring something to do. And don't be mad.
and plan your showings that they're gonna be a little late.
Yeah. I mean, can we plan around that? Yeah. So a high D or a C, 12, 12:30, you're gonna be there at 12, you're gonna be gone at 12:15, off you go. C's, they're gonna open every cabinet, they're gonna look at every little thing.
Yeah.
So do you need an hour for that showing? You'll figure it out after a while, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I know we're running out of time, so S's, I just wrote that passive aggressive bit would probably be for a C,
Yeah.
they would just. That'd be really.
It would be the most tricky. So again, I want to say about the Cs, remember that a C can present as a D. Because aren't they both task oriented and not people oriented?
Yeah,
Not saying they don't love people, not saying they don't love, have people in their life, but they can present very matter of fact, blunt. It's the pace and the analysis is where you can see the difference between a D and a C. Because a D, there's no analysis. If their gut is like, let's go, and they get the 5 bullet points, who said that they speak in bullet points? That's so true. So true. So we just have to adjust that way. All right, one more thing I want to leave with y'all. Thank you. Give yourself a hand. Great job. We already talked a lot about this. This is one of my absolute favorite things. Tony Robbins is the one that I heard say it so succinctly, is that all of my suffering comes from judgment of someone else. And I would say the word expectations is there. You know Susan Weber? You do, don't you? Yeah, we talk about that all the time. She's like, you're in my head all the time, that the expectations, when you say, again, when you say, if it were me, I would, you are in expectation mode and you're gonna get frustration at the least and suffering at the most, so be careful. Give me a couple of ahas, give me some love before I let you go.
See what I even.
No doubt where you are. Huh?
Yes. Take it.
Oh, my
Sister,
goodness.
take it.
I am so glad you said that.
Yeah.
This is an unlimited assessment, so you can give it to anybody you want. The emails will come to you, so you don't have to worry. I'm telling you, and I'm not kidding. So what do you think? Okay, so I'm single. Cause I take referrals. Being single. So, I'm a high DI. What do you think is the perfect behavioral style that would be a good partner for me? And something else.
I and something.
I need a D, I need a driver. I need somebody that is ambitious and a
Yeah.
go-getter.
Yeah,
I need an I because I need you to be social.
yeah.
I'm not gonna drag you out of the house. What else do I need in my world as a high I?
A C?
I do. I need C. I need somebody to reel me in a little bit. I need somebody to read the contracts and I need somebody to make sure that the bills are paid or, do you know what I mean?
You're not.
Yeah, you just go run with that. Yeah, so I need some of that in my world, but it can't be too much.
Right,
Or we'll kill each other.
yeah.
So I need a DIC, I need a.
Yeah, I think.
In my world, yes, that's what I need. I'm happy that I can have that with you guys. Where was I gonna go? That it wasn't all about me when I was saying.
Other people taking the test?
Yeah, oh yeah, so that's what I was gonna say is, I believe so much in this that if I ever do get to like a third date, which I almost never happen. I'm gonna say, I'm really interested in this assessment thing, where you going taking this? Oh, I'm sending my life on an 18-page report. That is a lot better than a background check. You can figure out who somebody is. So by all means, send it to anybody that you want, because the very least, it brings up really, really fun conversations, and it really does bring grace into your world. What else?
You made me understand what my client is now.
Oh, what are they? Okay.
And I'm very, I think, DI, where I'm like, let's just make the decision, like,
Yeah.
what else is there to think about, you know? I gave you all the information, let's make the decision, and he's like, no, I need time, like, and he even told me last week, he's like, I'm just not the type of person to make a decision quickly. And I'm like, why not? Cause I am.
It is a huge challenge, and it's especially a challenge when we were in the multiple offer.
Oh,
Give
that
up
was
your
so hard.
firstborn, that made C's lose their mind,
Yeah.
right? Because they had to make, what did we say? You know, if you sleep on it, you won't sleep in it, was the
Yeah.
phrase then. So how can you help a C get past that in a real estate transaction?
Well, I've given him all the information I can. And I was just writing down things to do for him, like maybe I should. He wanted to make a spreadsheet to compare all the properties he liked. And I'm like, no, maybe I should just do that for him and send it to him.
No, I wouldn't, let him do it.
Let's just take more time.
Okay, well, you can do it fast, so that's I don't, spreadsheets make me wanna like
Yeah,
stick needles in my eyes. If you can do it fast, yes, that's a way to love him for sure. One thing that I would say that would help is you gotta take away that fear of making a bad decision. That's our number one thing, right? And so let's just get this house under contract. Please remember, we've got an inspection process. Every single one of these dates and deadlines that is in our contract is a place for you to get all the information you need and get out if it doesn't meet your needs. So let's just get the process started. You're safe. You don't have to worry. My job is to make sure you never lose your earnest money, blah, 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 right? So one of the best analogies I heard was, you know how every Christmas there's that toy that is the toy, right? And you go into the store and they're sold out and you're like, when are they coming back in? Okay, Friday at 9 o'clock, be back, and they're all gone again, right? So let's say that you're walking through the store and there's the toy and it's on the shelf. Your job is to get that off the shelf as fast as you can and stick it in your cart. And then you drive around the store and you look at it and you Google it and you do your reviews and you make sure it's good. And you're just going around the store and it's in your cart, you got it, it's in your hands. And then you decide, you know what, it's not the toy for me. So you take it and you put it back on the shelf. And you go on with your day. So sometimes a C can understand that analogy. We're just gonna take it off the shelf and put it in the cart, it's ours right now. And then we're gonna look at it and do everything we need to do to make sure that this is gonna be a good decision. The decision isn't writing the offer. That's not the decision. The decision is closing. And we're gonna give you all kinds of time. So see if that helps. Might help a little bit.
And also with that, you want to, I mean, I would take you back to a time where you did have to make a good decision and it turned out to be the best decision. Because at some point in their life, they had to make a go, no, go decision fairly quickly, right?
Oh, that's a good.
When you're driving down the road and you see a kid run out, you don't have time to think about what might happen if you don't hit the brakes. That's a go, no go decision, right? And also for them, it's about getting them crystal clear
on what their vision is for that property. Because if they could really tell you what their top 5 things are, and you find the top 4. What do you gotta think?
And that could be an expectation that you said, Libby, and I know I just used the word expectation. That can be something you say in the beginning is, okay, you're telling me these 5 things are the most critical things to you. When we find a house that has these 5 things, are you gonna feel comfortable making a decision, knowing that we have a due diligence period after it? Yes, okay, good. Remember when you said that you would be ready? This is it, right? So yeah, good job. What else? One more.
I think I can look back at one of my first fires and transactions and things kept falling through and they kept backing out. And looking back, not knowing what kind of, how I needed to cater to them is probably a big factor in how
I love it.
that went.
Yeah, love them where they are. And I say that I'm gonna platinum them. It's my own like verbiage in my own mind. How do I platinum these people? How do I love them where they are? Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
You.
of Sharing my passion with you. Let me know, if you,
You have to send me an email. It didn't.
It didn't come, I sent it and it didn't come through to them, so somebody else maybe can try it.
I can forward it to you.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Or maybe I'm just, don't get good service in the building.
well.
okay, this is my email.
Oh, no, I didn't.
If you guys have any questions about like when you get yours, if you have any questions or you get somebody else in your lives and you have some questions, I'm happy to talk with you more about it.
Good job. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Andy.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Welcome.
Awesome.
Bye, guys. I forgot they would.
I know,
It's hard for me to have a bath tour.
I know, it's
Is that-
hard.